You've probably heard the name Geoffrey Hinton. He's often called the Godfather of AI. I mean, he's the computer scientist whose ideas, which were pretty controversial for a long time, helped make all this artificial intelligence we're seeing a reality. But now, after dedicating his entire life to building it, he has a pretty serious warning for the world he helped create. And it all boils down to one single, chilling thought. Now, let's be clear, this isn't a line from a science fiction movie. This is a direct quote from the man who knows this technology better than almost anyone on the planet. And it's a warning that forces us, all of us, to face a really tough question about this thing we've built. So you have to ask, does humanity actually know what it's doing? When Hinton was asked that very question, his answer was just no, simple as that. He genuinely believes we're stumbling into a future where, for the first time in history, we might not be the most intelligent things on the planet. So how on earth did we get here? Well, what's wild about this whole story is that the AI Hinton is now so worried about was basically an accident. It was born from a failure, believe it or not. His original goal wasn't to create some new superintelligence. He was just trying to understand our own minds. I mean, think about it. Back in the 1970s, this idea that you could get software to act like a brain was, well, it was fringe science. His own PhD advisor told him, drop it, it'll ruin your career. But for decades, while pretty much the rest of the world thought it was a dead end, he just kept at it. And then, finally, in 2019, he and his team got the highest honor in computing for their work. And this is the central irony of his whole career, right? He fully admits he failed at his original quest. He never did figure out exactly how the human brain works. But in the process, after this 50-year journey, he ended up building an artificial one. Okay, so to really get why he's so concerned, we have to talk about how these things actually learn. Because this is the key. They're not programmed like your calculator. They literally teach themselves. So at the heart of all this is something called a neural network. Just picture a piece of software that's built in layers, kind of inspired by the connections in our own brains. Instead of giving it step-by-step instructions, you just design it to spot patterns and learn from experience. This learning process is actually pretty intuitive. So think about these little soccer-playing robots. Nobody programmed them with the rules of soccer. Nope. They were just given one goal: put the ball in the net. So they try thousands and thousands of things, and every single time they get a little closer or they actually score, a little "that was right" message gets sent back through the network. And it strengthens the connections that led to that success. It teaches itself just through trial and error. And here's where it starts to get a little bit spooky. Hinton says, look, we design the learning algorithm. That's kind of like designing the rules of evolution. But once you let that algorithm loose on massive amounts of data, it creates this incredibly complex web of connections that we don't really understand. Even its creators can't point to exactly how it comes up with its answers. You know, you hear this argument all the time, right? That these chatbots are just fancy autocomplete, just predicting the next most likely word. Hinton says that's just crazy. To be able to predict the next word so well, you have to actually understand the meaning of what you're saying. And he's got a pretty brilliant way to prove it. Just look at this comparison for a second. The human brain has, about 100 trillion connections or synapses? The biggest chatbots, they're around 1 trillion. So they're much smaller. And yet, inside that smaller network, the chatbot knows way, way more information than any single person ever could. That tells you it has a much, much more efficient way of learning and storing knowledge. So, to prove this whole idea of understanding, Hinton came up with a test, a simple riddle that needs more than just spitting out facts. It needs reasoning. So, take a second. Rooms are white, blue, or yellow. Yellow fades to white in a year. You want them all white in 2 years. What's the plan? GPT-4 spit out its answer in 1 second. And yeah, it got it right. Repaint the blue rooms, leave the yellow ones alone. But then, it did something else. It added this unexpected insight, warning that painting over the yellow while it's fading might make it off-white. And it gave strategic advice, calling it a waste of resources to paint rooms that are going to change on their own. Come on, that's not just prediction, that's reasoning. So this is the really crucial point. These things understand. And that understanding comes with incredible promise, yeah, but also profound peril. It's like this technology has 2 completely different faces. I mean, on one side, the benefits are huge. In healthcare, AI is already better than human radiologists at spotting diseases in medical scans. It's totally changing how we design new drugs. But on the other side of that coin, you've got massive risks. widespread unemployment, a tsunami of fake news that's impossible to spot, and maybe the scariest of all, autonomous weapons making life or death calls on a battlefield. That the ultimate risk, the one that really keeps Hinton up at night, is this: the chance that these systems could start writing and running their own computer code. A machine that can improve itself, that can modify itself, could evolve beyond our control and our understanding really fast. So all of this, it puts us at this incredible moment. We are walking into a future filled with enormous uncertainty, and we're dealing with a kind of technology we've never seen before. This really could be a major turning point for our entire species. You know, he's been compared to Robert Oppenheimer, the guy who invented the atomic bomb. And it makes sense. Like Oppenheimer, he's a scientist who fundamentally changed the world, only to spend his later years trying to warn everyone about his own creation, fearing it was already beyond our control. And that's why the stakes are just so incredibly high. With most new tech, you can mess up, learn your lesson, and fix it later. With super intelligence, Hinton warns, we might only get one shot, one chance to get it right. So we're left with Hinton's core message. He's not saying we're definitely doomed, but he is saying the risk is very real. The debate isn't about whether these machines are smart anymore. He's telling us, flat out, these things understand. So the only question left, the question we all have to face, is what happens next?